So you're thinking about moving to San Mateo County. In this video, we're going to be showing you all of the county itself, why people are choosing different cities, and why prices are what they are. We're going to be taking you through the different prices and types of homes in these cities via Google Maps and show you some different price points so you get an idea, depending on your specific budget and lifestyle, where would be the best place to be in this prime location. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you the best kept secret and the best opportunities to buy if you were trying to make a move today at various different price points in this county. Definitely don't want to miss this. We're going to start right now. If this is your first time on the channel and you want to know everything about living in the Bay Area, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market here in the Bay. My name is Spencer Sue with eXp Realty, and we get calls every single day from people just like yourself. So whether you're moving in 9 days or in 9 months, feel free to reach out as all of our contact details are below. We've been happy to help you make a smooth move here in the Bay Area. Now, let's take a look at San Mateo County on a Google Map so we can explore the geography about it and some great insights that you're going to find valuable. So when we look at San Mateo County, the reason why it is so valuable is because it is the prime location between a major job hub and a major AI boom of San Francisco, and the lifestyle of all the things to do in the evening of San Francisco, along with the big tech companies here in the South Bay in Santa Clara County. Now, there are also a lot of other jobs and opportunities within the county itself. Primarily, you're going to have a big cluster, which is the Oyster Point cluster out in South San Francisco, but you also have various different companies that are sprinkled throughout, whether it's EA at Redwood Shores, whether it is at Visa at Foster City. There is a lot of big companies that are also throughout, but they just won't be as big as the corporate campuses that you see of these major tech companies. It is also a prime location because the biggest international airport is going to be through San Francisco Airport. So a lot of people that are enjoying travels, if they are executives, they will certainly want to prefer this area because it's just going to be easier access to get around. Now, because of that though, this county itself will be the most expensive county in the entire Bay Area. It is higher than San Francisco and in Santa Clara County for these specific reasons. The other benefit about this county itself, especially here on the east part of the county, is that the weather is the most mild that you will have for all of the areas. That being said, it's not going to be the coldest. San Francisco is always the coldest because you have the fog and you also have just a little bit more of a gloomy weather relative to most of San Mateo County, which you will have lots of beautiful sunlight. Now, in terms of the way that is laid out, on the very north of San Mateo County, you have the cities of Daly City and Brisbane to the right. On the very south, it will go all the way down to Menlo Park, East Palo Alto. Now, if you didn't know, there's actually a lot of smaller beach cities on the west side, which there are fantastic houses with ocean views, but because of the distance to get here, the amount of housing is significantly less, and also the population is significantly less. But there are fantastic places to go on the weekends, go hiking, go on a short trip. There are easy day trips that you can do. Unless you wanted an ocean view home, we're pretty much going to be talking about the ones where most people will be residing, which will be the corridor in the strip between Daly City and Menlo Park. Now, there are multiple highways of how people will get around. So you have 101, which will be the busiest highway because that is going to be the main artery. And the reason why it's the main artery for north to south is for many reasons. A lot of the housing is usually on both sides of 101, but also a lot more of the companies are along both sides of 101. So that's going to be your major path. So don't be surprised. You're going to have a lot of traffic there, especially during rush hour. But it is also fairly convenient, especially during the weekends where there isn't much traffic. The other major highway is actually on the other side, but it still goes north to south, you can see. So a lot of people, including myself, we would tend to go on 280 a lot if we are able to go from San Francisco and you want to get to the South Bay and there's a long distance. And the reason why this highway of 280 doesn't have as much traffic is because the people that are taking this path do not need to go across the bridge, but most of the people here are kind of making a beeline towards Santa Clara County, or they may be in the fortunate opportunity to live more on the western parts of these cities. Typically, the western parts of these cities, which I'll show you momentarily, are the most expensive and the nicest homes are out there. There's a long history of that. It's a combination of these are the largest homes, but also it's the least amount of traffic. But if you look at the map, and as you go through the entire corridor, you may see on the western part, there is very little housing. The only time you start getting some level of housing is if you go really far south down and you're getting closer to Woodside, By that point, you're almost at the very bottom of San Mateo County. But you can see this whole corridor here, and you may have driven by it. It's a beautiful view. You have the Crystal Springs Park. You have a golf course nearby. But there is no housing, or there is no housing on that side. They're mostly just parks. And so that's part of the reason why there's just so less cars, because there's so less people that would go there, because there's so much less people that live on this side. You really have to only live on this half to really take this path to even use the highway, or you live really far south to Santa Clara County to take advantage of that. So that gives you a little bit of the layout, right? And there's all sorts of great job opportunities in here. I kind of mentioned it already, but the biotech cluster in South San Francisco, this is one of the biggest biocluster hubs in the entire country. It's competitive and comparative to San Diego and also in Boston. So they have done very well, especially when you have AI and tech that plays more and more impact into the health and life sciences side. That is very exciting. But you also have all the different companies, as I mentioned like before, Visa, Gilead, Electronic Arts. You got lots of hospitals along there. So you have like the many Kaiser hospitals along this path. And then you have then the big tech company of Meta, which has a huge presence here on basically the northern part of Menlo Park, which is right across from the highway of the Martin Bridge. So that's the layout of geography-wise, why people are choosing here, but also the way that it all works. Now, traffic patterns are typically very common. Because this is a very prime area and there's a lot of jobs, most of the time, you're gonna have the normal traffic of lots of people from the East Bay or South Bay. They're all flowing through the bridges to get to work. So westward in the morning will be very busy, right? It's probably busy from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then you have afternoon rush hours. It'll flow the reverse way because people will go back, right? So maybe from nowadays, maybe 3:34 to 7:30, around that time period. But it's not both ways. So it's not both at the same time. The traffic patterns all follow the same direction, the same path, because the jobs and the high-paying jobs are in this area. So your next question will be, depending on your budget, what are the best options and where are the best cities? So if you take a look at this, here is a glimpse as to San Mateo County, the median sales price as of mid-November of the time of this recording. The median sales price is at $2.09 million for the median single family. Now, certainly there'll be a lot of homes that are well above it, some homes underneath this range. So let's talk about first the best areas. So in this case, I'm going to go over the example of homes that are over $4 million. Where are these areas? In the last 3 months, there was 108 of these homes that have sold. And you will see the general regions of where they're at. You'll see big clusters. Let's kind of talk about it a little bit more to the north. You have the town of Hillsborough. So Hillsborough is excellent because one, it's very private. Two, the average lot sizes are very big there. Like the average lots there are over like 15,000, 12,000 square foot lots. The catch is these are more on the hills. So the lot itself may or may not be usable. So it's really going to be dependent on the individual house and location, but that's a very prime area. Next to it, if you want something a little bit closer to like downtown Burlingame, also closer to the highway, Burlingame basically is right next to Hillsborough. You do have many houses that you can see that are over 4 million, but the median there is just going to be a little bit lower. Then you move a little bit more south. You can see there's a lot of places around San Mateo, especially the western parts. Those are the nicest parts of San Mateo. So those are going to be options that are going to be there. Not many at that price point, but those are some options. Hillsborough kind of goes through this region here. So that's kind of that I would say it is the mid-peninsula area. It is literally around San Mateo County, San Mateo itself. As you go south, you also encounter some great places. So San Carlos is excellent. San Carlos has continued to do very well because of the combination. They have excellent schools. Most of their schools are 9+ rated. And they also have some bigger houses, especially as you move more towards the west. So that's a very wonderful location and product type of homes. The land there is a little bit flatter, I would say, than the ones that you get in Hillsborough. And so that's, but it doesn't get more than expensive than Hillsborough, but it's still a really good option between, as you can see, like the 4 to 5 million mark. Great place to be. Now, as you move south, you're going to see a couple of areas. So if you go, let's say, south and a little bit more west, you have the areas of Woodside and Portola Valley. Now, these are a lot more in the hills. I think of these a lot more like the places that you may be able to get at places like Lake Tahoe. It's a lot more of the ones in the woods. You just got to be a little bit more mindful because even though you have the wonderful privacy and really being with nature with fantastic homes and land and the privacy, these are more at risk of fire. So your home insurance premiums here are higher. So just factor that in as you make your decision. Even a lot of the places, even in places like Hillsborough and Emerald Hills, are already impacted by a higher premium for insurance. But here it will just be a little bit higher because you're even more inside. But super amazing to be able to be literally in the woods while you're really still only like 10 minutes away from all the action of the things that you would normally get, grocery stores, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very popular for those that want that privacy, but also that nature feel. But if you move more north, you have the places like West Menlo Park and also Atherton. So Atherton tends to be some of the most expensive and private communities that you will find in all of the Bay Area, and there's many good reasons for that. It's even better than Hillsborough because you still get a huge piece of land, but the benefit of this is that those lots are generally all flat, and you are able to put your own gates. So when you actually drive by Atherton, you will see that you're not going to be able to see a whole lot. Now, you obviously can see through the gates, but you're not driving through people's houses. You're just kind of driving through their front gates. So that is one of the very few cities that has that. And these houses can start 5 million, 6 million plus as their entry-level place. Very, very limited area, very great area. And you can see it's very prime because right next to all the action of Redwood City, Palo Alto, so on and so forth. Now, West Menlo Park is interesting because Menlo Park doesn't necessarily have like really, really good schools, but it also goes to a combination of several good things that goes for it. It's right next to Stanford. The houses itself, especially in this area, have been torn down a lot. So you see a lot of new products, not new rows of development, but new teardowns and new developments after that. And so that is very popular because when people have the kind of money that they have, there's not that many places where you can get new homes. And so there is a market for developers and contractors to do these projects to then allow somebody to deploy that kind of capital and just move into a beautiful new construction, modern, contemporary house right from the get-go. So if you wanted something newer, you may have a higher chance of getting something in West Menlo Park because that area is so prime for development. The reason why it's also so prime is because the lots are still sizable, but a lot of the older homes are smaller. So when they're a smaller home, it makes more sense to just tear it down than to just do remodels or additions. You might as well just have a clean slate. So amongst all these places, West Menlo Park has a lot of new construction homes that have been torn down and been redone. So this gives you a glimpse. If you are in the category that is doing well, I would love to work with you guys. $4 million plus, these are the areas that you'll be looking at most. Now, not everybody can certainly do that. And you saw previously, the median price was was at around 2.1 million. So let's just say you're between 2 to 3.5. So where are these places? Look at this. 292 of these homes sold in the last 2.5 months. Where are these homes at? Now it's really like clustered, right? Now you're going to see a lot of options. Hillsborough, you're not going to see as much, but now you're going to see a few other sweet spots. Places like Millbrae are now available, are options there. Burlingame, which we had saw previously, they're more in that category. You have other areas by the water, Foster City, right? So people love Foster City and Redwood Shores because they both have good schools and they are by the water, which is really, really hard and nearly impossible to get. They even have a bunch of these canals that are there, which you're not going to find practically anywhere else in the core Bay Area. I think if you go up to Lathrop, that area will have some that are created there. And then you can see like all sorts of things are highlighted, right? All along San Mateo, all along Belmont, San Carlos, Redwood City, parts of Menlo Park too. Like all of these are now like showed up. And these are single families that are between that range that I just brought up. So now this really opens to a lot of homes. So it really depends on what you're looking for in terms of your commute, right? Does school still matter? Because a lot of these places actually do not have good schools, right? A lot of the places in Redwood City, even at these price ranges do not have good schools. But they have a great location, right? You're closer to, if you work at Meta, you're closer to Palo Alto, things like that. It's also a little bit more value for what you can get, even for this dollar amount. So there will be exchanges you're going to be getting. You're not going to the best school districts at this budget. Now you could. So you could be in San Carlos, you could be in Belmont, you could be in Burlingame, these areas with good schools, but you're going to still make some adjustments, right? And the way that you can see it, though, is take a look at this. There are also still a lot of places that are empty. Now, not here in the middle park. We saw that earlier. Those are the nicest homes, but you're going to still see a lot of sections that are emptier. So those that are emptier tends to be a little bit more east because they'll be a little bit cheaper, and I'll show you that momentarily. And the reason for that is several things. One, the homes and the lots are smaller, and that's actually the main reason. I mean, it's just built smaller back then. So take a look at this. Let's say homes under 1.9, single family. There are still 422 homes that sold under that amount. Now, where are these homes that sold during the time? So you can see there's a lot more in the north. So you saw a lot of areas don't show up anymore. So the places more north is the cheapest for many reasons. So you look at Daly City, South San Francisco, San Bruno, these areas, Pacifica. They're a lot cheaper for many reasons. Number one, well, relative to the other homes. They're cheaper because the lots of these on average are actually much smaller. So they're not like some of these other areas are more average 6,000-7,000 square foot lots. Here you may average more like 3,000-4,000 square foot lots for a lot of these places. So parking is a lot tighter. The home size is actually sizable. So you're actually going to get a decent sized homes, but they're going to feel a lot more crowded because of there's a lot more multi-generational families living in there. People have been living there for a long time. The average age of these homes could be built in the 50s and 60s, right? So that's a part of the reason. And also the other part of the reason is the climate is a lot cloudier and much, much colder and mild. So some people really hate that. Like they live in the Bay Area, they move from wherever they move from, especially you move from another place that didn't have good weather, and then you can move here and it'll be very cold and gloomy. So that's part of the reason. So some people can't stand that. Others like, look, that's your budget. Those are your options. If you look at this map, you can see most of the places, there's a whole lot more that are red on the right side, right? And a whole lot less that are on the left side. So as I mentioned before, generally the smaller and cheaper and more affordable entry-level homes tends to be a little bit more on the east. At the end of the day, though, you as a individual, whether you're buying, selling, investing, you got to make your own decision as to what is the best option that can work for you and be willing to adjust accordingly. Now, the places that are actually by the beach, they can be expensive, but in general, they're not that expensive. So even though you have a beautiful ocean view, as I mentioned from the beginning of this video, the catch is the drive from here to like wherever you would work is going to be quite a distance. So unless you work remotely or you don't have to get into the office that many times a week, you're probably not going to consider to live out there. That's just the facts of how things are. So this is all the single family homes. Now, they do have condos and townhomes, right? So if you want to take a look at condos and townhomes, you can see it is much less, but you can see in the last 3 months, there's 260 homes that sold. Now, condos and townhomes are cheaper. They're always cheaper than single family homes in these areas. So to take a look at this as a general stat, the median there is way less than half, $929,000. Now, this is part of the reason because a lot of these are considered actually condos, like apartment style ones. But if you take a look at it, right, let's say you're looking at ones that are 1.3 million plus. It went from the 290 to 60. So it was much less. Where are these areas? They're going to be primarily going to be a lot in Foster City, Redwood Shores. You have a few sprinkled like kind of in the middle, like some in San Mateo, some in San Carlos and things like that, but not many. Most will be along the side. And the reason in the history is this. In those areas, Foster City, Redwood Shores, those are actually a little bit newer cities. And so as they were newer cities, they were able to develop more of those complexes that had more townhomes and condos than some of these other areas. Now, moving forward, though, you will see a decent amount more condo flats being developed that are new along typically El Camino Real, this kind of general region. The reason for that is because one thing I didn't point out before is the Caltrain. So the Caltrain typically runs close-ish to El Camino. You can see that all the different stops that it'll have throughout. So it's a very great way to get up and down without having to drive around, especially if you're to work in the city. Now, most of these areas are zoned for higher density. And so because of that, there's going to be a lot more developments of retail, mixed-use spaces, removing old buildings, adding more condo buildings there. Now, they're not going to be massive. Like these are not like skyscrapers, but it wouldn't be surprising if you get like a 50 to 100 at a time, best case. And then if you have some townhomes developments, maybe you're looking at, they're kind of townhomes. They're not really only vertical. It may be vertical, and then you have like a garage that's kind of all shared on the bottom level. It's still kind of mixed use, but a condo, like a townhome more feel. but those may be like 20 unit developments at best. They're not going to be usually by big developers. They're going to be by individual people that have the interest and the ability to do so. So you'll have more of that over time. But if you want something that's existing and you want something in a good area, you have to understand the products that are out there already, and you're going to have to wait and just buy a pre-owned type. Right, but make no mistake, there are also plenty of homes that, as you saw previously, that are under $1 million. So look, under $1 million, there's 159 homes that have transacted. So the interesting part about the county is that even though the single family price is the most expensive, over $2 million as a median, you still have a lot of good starter homes, places to downsize. So I have a lot of clients, they sell their $3 million plus homes. They don't need that kind of space. They can cash out, invest in the stock market, invest in bonds, invest in whatever investment goals that they have, yet they still want to get a place that's still close by. Especially a lot of them may want to visit. A lot of my clients are in India, so they want to go visit India a lot. Some people just want to travel a lot more. It's still around San Francisco airport, which will be your dominant airport to do any international travel, much more than Oakland and San Jose. And so then they decide on these other places. And you can see at this number, there's lots of options. Some of the areas that we brought up before, the more northern parts, and you even can see just sprinkled all throughout. There's plenty of other like condos that are there. But the catch is, take a look at this. Most of the entry level ones, the age of them are typically going to be much older. So out of the 159 homes, the ones that were built in the last 10 years, there was only 4 that sold. And you look at even if you say the last 20 years, there's only 9 out of 159. If you look at the last 30 years, now you have, what is that? That's 21 out of 159. So a majority are going to be the older ones, right? That's just, be mindful of that. It is what it is. They could have still updated the interior. The outside may not be as great, as nice, but that is the product that is in that county. Well, hopefully this helps. One of my videos that you haven't seen, watch it over here, was one of my most popular videos about the Bay Area Explained. And I already shared the other one. Here's my other video for the Santa Clara County Explained right over here. But I'm also going to be breaking down for the Alameda County and potentially also some San Francisco down the line. So if you found this video helpful, you got to be sure, reach out to me. Let's go over a game plan, help you figure out your best option, whether it's this county or not, help you with your move, can help you buy, sell, or invest. At the same time, if you found this video helpful or you knew other people that will find this video helpful, be sure to like it, subscribe, and support the channel. See you next time.